because you work in construction, right?
Yep.
You keep the country ticking over. You keep the country functioning.
We were getting more road closures on the road than ever. So Highways England were giving us work after work after work. I was working nights, weekends, all the way through, just literally 7 days a week.
When I hear mental health, where it's so important in young men, especially with the suicide rates that go on, you never hear of mental health in the construction industry. Why is that?
We've got over 700 people who kill themselves a year just in construction, and nobody gives a fuck in the nicest way. 3 weeks ago, a guy cut his own throat in the middle of London on a building site, one of the biggest sites in the UK. Slit his own throat and put a knife in. It didn't work, so he didn't put the knife in his neck. I heard that from a very, very close contact of mine who manages something there. 6 weeks ago, a man jumped off a bridge and landed on a building site in front of a very good pal of mine, a project manager in Kent. All these people killing themselves, and nobody's doing anything. I've seen people squashed by machinery. I've seen people in the front, decorated front of cross trains. We've seen literally the limbs get cut off and stuff, literally just for, and we're never ever checked or asked, are you all right? What do you see? And I always say,
that's PTSD right there.
Plant and machinery gets all the health checks every week. They tick it all off every shift.
Fucking great point, mate. That's a great point.
Every shift they have to sign off that the machine's not been tampered with and it's all okay. But the person operating it doesn't matter.
Steve, how you doing?
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you. How's things?
Very well, all
So
good.
you're a local boy?
I am local, yeah, very local. Just popped out, literally, yeah.
Popped out for a nice afternoon chat.
Yeah, they said expenses be covered, actually. That's happy days. It was a big journey. It was a big journey.
Walk, mate.
It was a tank of fuel.
Penny a mile. How's things?
Good. Yeah, very
good.
well.
So,
thank you for having me.
No, listen, thanks for coming on. Very important subject and personal stories that you've got. And I think with where you've come from and what you do, you can change a lot of mindsets. You can change a lot of perspective about the construction industry, because you work in construction, right?
Yep.
And that's what keeps the infrastructure is what keeps the country going. You know, whether it's homes, whether it's the infrastructure of society, whatever it may, of the country, whatever it may be, it's a huge part of society, and it's men like you that keep it ticking over, that keep it running. So when did you first get into construction?
Fell into it out of school, basically. Yeah, I fell in playing football.
Classic, right?
Yeah,
classic of falling into it out of school.
Fell into it. Yeah, and everyone does. And it's so wrong because it's an awesome industry, really. But yeah, come out of school, I think my football coach, one of the dads at football, just pretty much said to me, could you... you got your plans after your exams, Steve? I was like, no. I said, well, during your exams, do you want to come and work with us?
Give us a hand.
Yeah.
Give us
So
a hand on the
when I should have been
site.
revising, I went out to sites and I started doing window fixing around the country. And straight away, self-employed straight away, registered to CIS, I think it was. And then, first job, I think we went to Cardiff, then went to Southampton, up to Sunderland for 2 or 3 weeks.
How old were you then?
16, 17.
See, that's what I mean. So it's living the life, right?
It was our Vita same pet in the UK, pretty much. It was literally just touring around. Me, I grew up Bulgarian guy, Albanian guy, guy from Bermondsey. It was a real cliche kind of gang.
Right.
We went around the country and it was brilliant. I'd take a sub every day of the 50 quid you earned and spent it that night, and then straight
of
done
course.
the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I just went that way really, and then I'd never looked back really. I'd done a few things in between. Was a failed car salesman for a bit. It was quite a good laugh, but that was only about 6 or 7 months, and then went away skiing done a couple of ski seasons here and there, escaped the country, and done that bit. That gave me a real awesome life lesson really of just teaching or knowing people.
And what you do now, you do construction now, so you've
construction,
back
in.
into this,
Construction. Come back, and then literally, we would say come back. I went out for a little bit, just dabbled around in the early 20s, and literally just done a few bits, and then literally got sucked back into it all, and then long back here I am again, really still digging holes.
Back
24
to construction, but construction is something that I think all of us have been worked on a building site. You know, when you finish school or during your school holidays, your mate's dad goes, come and work carry the buckets, carry some, do a bit of hodding, mix the cement, whatever it may be. But it's also an industry that you need 0 qualifications to get involved with, right? So you can 100%. Literally go from school, these prime kids that have come out of school, got no qualifications, school just isn't their thing, it's not nothing to do with them not being smart, not being bright. They're just not academic in that way. They're more physical. They get out, they find that they've got no qualifications, they can't get a job. Boom, straight into the construction industry, straight onto a building site. at the ages of 16, right? So you leave school, you can go on to, how does that work when you can go onto a building site with absolutely no qualification and having to work in such a sort of manual labour, sort of health and safety sort of nightmare that some of these building sites have?
Pretty much where I think where the problem comes in, really, because no matter where you are in the world, how much you're broken down, no matter how life picks you up and spits you back out, one of the good things of the industry, and bad thing, my fault in a way, but will take you on. It doesn't matter what your background is, no matter what you've, like say, from the military side, people come out of the army, people come out of the prison service, people fail school, everything. You walk into the pub, you've got a job. There's no CVs exchange.
You walk into the pub, you've got a job.
Any clubhouse, rugby club was mine, football took me into construction. If you know people, you'll find a job in construction. It's so easy in that route, but there's no checks or anything to say what is your background, how can we look after you. There's no kind of, again, from the military side and the prison side, that's what we're seeing in terms of mental health issues. I think what's not touched on at all, and nobody looks at it. Not many people are starting to listen to me now and realising, but I'm saying we're taking these people on who've been in horrendous backgrounds, even as youngsters growing up and they've failed school because they can't concentrate because they're literally traumatised as children all the way through and they can't do anything academically. But we just give them a job and no one actually says, right, what's your background? Let's put you through a process and let's find out about it and help you.
Yeah, checks, background checks, none of that.
There's nothing.
Fired straight into it.
Nothing. So there's absolutely nothing like that. And we literally get anyone and everyone from all over the country. We're actually seeing a few people obviously from Ukraine coming over from that background. And
but you're paying for manual labour, aren't you, basically?
Yeah, labour. They don't want hearts and personalities and anything. They just want people in there. Graft. Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
Because you boys are grafters. I've been on building sites.
Yeah.
Graft, right?
Do your job, get in, get done. Don't bring your problems to work. Get your job done, get home again. And it's still the same today. People say it's not. I do a lot of work on LinkedIn. It's very much buttered up and made to look pretty, but it's not. I was on a site 2 years ago, 450 people in our area, and I was told, I literally was at the boardroom meeting going on, and they said, we need to make this 270 people next week. And they said, huh?
Get them from everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah, well, they need to cut that for next week. They said, we want to cut it. They said, well, what do we do with these 150, 200 people who are going to go? The direction, that doesn't matter to me.
And that's purely 99% young men, right?
Yeah, 99%. Yeah, I'd say a few old boys there. You get a few kind of old
Any women?
Yeah, there's a few ladies around. I think the women make up a small percentage, maybe 1% on the
tiny
tools.
Percent.
Yeah,
Let's
but
be honest.
the women in construction, I think it's 12 or 13%. But of that, I think 11 of them are in the office background.
In a labour role.
Yeah. Not in a labour. You get the odd electrician, your plumber. Not many ground workers. I've seen ground work's my background. Machine drivers, dumper drivers. We've done one in London last year, actually. We took a group of 15 girls out from mixed trade. We found trades girls, basically, and said, let's go for a walk in London. So, and they loved the industry, how macho it was as well, what I found brilliant. Because it's very much made to make it look pink and fluffy to attract women in. And the women we walked with went, we don't want that. These women loved the bloke banter and the way the blokes, literally, it was a bloke-dominated industry. They like that, and that's what they come into.
It's a physical industry, isn't it?
Yeah,
like it's a manual labour at a cost. It's a physical industry, and you get young blokes that get churned in and out from school, almost not preyed on, that's the wrong word, but also used because, you know, they've got no qualifications. This is the only route. I'm going to give you some money. You're going to go in, carry these bricks, mix this cement, do what's asked of you, and you're not going to ask any questions. You're just going to do it. And these young men get churned in and out of this industry because for their manual labour, right? So and they go in there, keep their mouth shut, they get on with the job, they get untold amounts of shit. Listen, I thought military banter was bad, right? But I've been on some building sites and that banter is level 100. You know, you get onto a building site and you see some stuff on social media, but the banter is you almost wouldn't expect society to understand it because they wouldn't accept it. They'd be like, that comes under bullying, that comes under mental health issue. You're physically and psychologically bullying that person, or it's banter. I know what banter is. I have military 100%. Banter, and I use my military banter sometimes, and people look at me and they're like, you can't do that. I'm like, listen, around the right people and around people that understand it. But it's very much like that in the construction world, right?
100%.
For these young boys.
Yeah, we've actually realised it. And I said, there's some people saying that the council culture, you're not allowed to do this banter and have that. But it's the only thing that kept me going over the years. I said, I need that with the guys, and if I can't have that with people, I don't want to be at work.
No, of course.
But there's obviously a level of respect with it when you know we go too far. But I think that comes with
go too far. Like the lines there, like
I've stepped that. I just was messaging a guy I worked with last night actually, and one of the boys privately WhatsApped me on the side and said, "You might want to euse off a little bit, Steve." And that's even me now after all I've learned. But it was his own fault. So we literally get now. Like I said to people, you can't. There's a level of respect. If I don't know you or I haven't worked for you for 2 or 3 weeks, or it's one of those ones that's funny when someone comes on the scene quite new and they give you a bit of banter and you almost think, you haven't earned that yet. You haven't earned the right to give me this banter yet. You think, who do you think you are? And then
there's a hierarchical structure, but you know, unofficial. Yeah.
So and you nip that in the bud with one quick clash, and then then it's done.
And then they know. But you know what? That's how society is. That's how work. You know, you get into there, you find your feet. You test the playground as such, and then you might get wrapped on the fingers. It's like, okay, I know where I can stand, I know what boundaries I can push, I know where I need to be, but ultimately I know what I need to do. And that's what I love about the construction industry. It's like you get on there, you're there. It's not like an office job where you can skive around a little bit or pretend that you work, and it's like you're on site. Eyes are on you. You are grafting from the moment you get onto that site, small lunch break until the moment you leave. You're there purely for graft, aren't you? It's like graft. You're being used. And ultimately, what I think is a really, really important message is we talk about these young boys coming out of school with qualifications, going on to do, but it's the young boys that are coming out, that are going to these building sites that are keeping this country ticking over, the infrastructure running, the houses and everything being fucking built, and everything around us in society that needs to function. These young boys ultimately are at the base ground level of making that happen. Yeah,
there was no COVID for us. There was no no kind of sit at home, you locked down. There was none of that. I was fortunate enough, and it was the best thing ever. Really, I didn't want to be sitting. A lot of us can't sit at home. Fortunate enough, I worked in the rail side of the industry and also in the infrastructure, on the highway side, so the roads and that. And I've never been busier through COVID. Like I know it was a terrible time for a lot of people, but I know there was a lot of silver linings there to be had. And we were getting more road closures on the road than ever. So Highways England were giving us work after work after work. I was working nights, weekends, all the way through, just literally 7 days a week, just because I didn't know what was around the corner. It's like to make hay while you can, because who knows how long this thing goes.
So you're one of these people, for example, when you're going along the motorway and it's all cornered off, it's all coned off. You're on the side of the road, grafting away, digging. And there's about 20 of you that aren't doing it. No, I'm joking. But you're these people that work throughout these dangerous situations. Let's be honest.
Horrendous.
Yeah. You're on the side of the road. You see all these horrific crashes and whatever it may be. But not only are you grafting your balls off, breaking your backs to maintain the infrastructure of this country, full stop, whether it's logistics, whether it's whatever it is. But you're being put in dangerous situations as well.
Yeah, it's awful. I won't work on the roads anymore. I'm done with it. And
Really?
I'll go out there and do visits or something and go see people and that, but I'm not interested in going and working on the highways. I work on the railway a lot. Trains are good. They stick to the tracks most of the time. Cars, especially nighttime, people do not stick to the roads. They should be sticking to. And people, you'd be surprised how many people ignore the cones, just carry on going. Well, we only need to get to the next junction. So come hurtling through 80 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour, because I want to get through quick before they're caught, not realising we're actually on the side of the road working there. Well, there could be a hole in the road for all they know. Yeah. We got there just down the road actually last year. One of my last shifts, we had a traffic cone. I got out of a flatbed truck, and literally as I got out and walked around the back of it, the colleague I was with, he got out and was right at the front, and the traffic cone got hit, and the great big bit at the bottom literally went straight in the wheel arch. When I just got out the truck was above the wheel arch, and it smashed straight through there, and then the actual top bit missed the guy's with his head by probably a couple of millimetres, and he just stood there just in shock for 2 or 3 minutes. And I was running the area, so I just went, "Nat, stop." I said, "We're not doing this unless they close the road off," because they'll just do like single lane working, so half the road shut, half's not.
Yeah.
People just hurtle for it, and lorries will hurtle for and clipping cones all the way.
Of course.
And I just said, "No, we're not doing it." I said, "No." I said, "Not until you go out there and give it a go yourself." I said, "It's not right." I said, because as soon as I was running the area, I said, as soon as he gets that cone, if that cone was 6 inches to the right and took his head off, I said, I'll be the one who's responsible. Why have I put him out there? And if I thought it, because as soon as I then say we've been hit with something, they would then just turn that on me as a freelance, not so much employed.
Yeah, of course.
They would then go, "So, well, you're responsible for the site, Steve. If you felt there was danger there, then you should have stopped that, then, shouldn't you?" And then I'd have been like, Yeah, but at the same time, if I would have stopped that, you would have gone, we need to get this works done. Steve keeps on stopping works, swap him around with you. And
Exactly. Yeah.
So it is one of those. Yeah, and it's only with confidence and experience over the last few years and kind of enough savvy in the tank of just to be able to say to people, no, it's not happening, not on my watch. And then
not
people,
because of A, B, and C. Listen, if you put these things in place, we're quite happily crack
on.
And
the further time goes on, and with pressures of the industry, and probably it comes back to everything. Everything is program driven and led, and pressure, and money's coming in from all over the world, obviously into the UK to pump into infrastructure, into anything, and it's just pressure, and it just goes down to the guys at the bottom. And then that's when it goes Pete Tong, and then we literally get told, hey, you shouldn't have done that, Steve. You shouldn't have been out there, should you? And you go, well, hang on a sec.
Yeah. But if you didn't have the guys at the bottom, then it wouldn't happen, right? No,
not at all. There's such a lack of respect for the bottom at the bottom.
Yeah, and the culture at the bottom, it's a hard gig, right? Because the culture at the bottom, from what I've seen and from what I know through friends and family, and you could probably back me up or not back me up on this, is the culture of, they go to work Monday to Friday, back's broken, not literally back, but they break their backs working, they're hard physical manual labour, they live for the weekend, they get out, it's Friday's done, straight down the pub, booze, whatever gives them that natural high from that week of that where they've just been grafting, they go out all weekend, booze, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, and then straight back onto it. That's their way, that's their whole cycle. I've seen a cycle where it's just like boom, and because their work is so hard and so not degrading to them, but they're not getting any qualification out of it. They're not getting any sort of skill set where if they wanted to continue and do construction, but a lot of them are just filling gaps, and they get into this cycle and they get caught into this cycle of extremely hard labour. Lads banter, because it is that banter of I've got to suck it up, or fucking suck it up, man up, and there's an element of that should be there. Of course, you're doing that hard manual sort of labour. It's the same in the military. You get out on the battlefield. There's no time for that lovey-dovey stuff. So there is room for that in small doses, but then there is, when you finish on a Friday, you almost, even if you don't want to, sometimes it's like you're in the van, we're stopping off at the pub.
Yeah, 100%.
Does that still exist, that
100%,
culture?
Yeah, definitely. When I was working over West London, and we had a big crew of guys over that way, and we all lived over this way, the other side of London. And it would be in the van, they'd load the van up with booze all the way home. It'd be a booze bus all the way home. And some of the boys would be like, not tonight. But they were in the van. So
it's peer pressure, right?
It probably was, peer pressure. Everyone ends up, and they're in the van, they're stuck in traffic. Oh, go on, they might have a bottle. And then, there's a few of those vans, still happens today.
And then the weekend goes and you're back on the job on Monday.
Yeah, definitely. And it's that circle, and it's that Friday, spend all the money on the Friday, borrow a bit on the Saturday. And it's just this circle. And then literally Sunday, might play a bit of football hungover and all that, and they're back to giving way. And one thing I've noticed now as well, and fortunately I don't drink as much as I used to in terms of just kind of through work and growing up a little bit, and then and kids come along. But I was like, all those years of me moaning about my back as well, and I've realised how much, not just the job as well, which probably weren't to do the booze going down your neck at the weekend, the kidney aches and the liver aches and the organs ache, and your body just can't handle this anymore.
You're on a constant cycle of physical self-destruction, whether it's drinking, whether it's literally grafting until your body gives up, and then you're abusing it at the weekends, and then you're starting that cycle again.
And it's not seasonal either, so it's not as if like you do this now and then we've got pre-season, then we can ease up a little bit. It's 365 days of the year pretty much, and you get off at every other Saturday. The rail lads and the lot of guys we work with, and especially the highway stuff, can be 7 days a week anyway.
And that's proven through COVID, right? Because COVID, like you said, that didn't stop. All of a sudden they didn't go, right, let's stop the infrastructure of this country, because then it would go down the pan, right?
We had a porter cabin for 6 people for 25 of us in the height of the first lockdown, and the whole world was going, I was going to supermarkets, you can't come in here without being 2 metres in front of me. And I thought, hang on a sec, me and for 25 of these blokes here are sharing a microwave, everyone was sharing cutlery, whatever you think, we're all trying to do what we could.
And you're sharing one portaloo.
And the guys had shower curtains in their van because the health and safety was saying, we need to, if you're in the van together, you can't literally. They'd driven an hour and a half with a shower curtain just across the seats to separate them in the van.
But you're just like,
what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like, it was just kind of like, we're in. As soon as we get to work, we're in the same portal cabin together anyway. So what?
Yeah, but if the government or the country needs that, it doesn't matter. You can just It's that one portal.
100%.
25, you 26. Yeah, it's like one rule for one, and this needs to be done. Therefore, you can.
When push comes to shove, it all goes out the window. You used to have it all the time. This week would be about hitting the target and the big concrete jobs that we'd be on. We'd be pouring concrete for 24, 25 hours, just literally huge concrete pours. And that week would be massively driven about hitting program, smashing program. And then the week after, when that big pour was done, they would come out to hammer health and safety at you. There's a trip hazard there, there's a this there, and this there, and this there. And you're thinking, hang on a sec, last week this was all completely out the window. You didn't know where you stood. And I remember, probably this was 3 or 4 years ago now, I remember being in a position just thinking my head was going all over the shop, like, not anxiety, I suppose, but it might have been a bit of it. I was thinking, I'm a freelance worker at this time as well, and I know that I need to keep these people happy. I was like, I just don't know how to keep them happy. And just go from one to the other. And it's probably one of two bridges I've probably burnt over the years with people. I do quite well with not burning bridges, but that person then, I just thought, I've got no respect for you whatsoever, for the way they used to do it. And they were the same people, cut all these blokes, like cut them away. And just literally not interested.
But that's what I think the industry the message they give off with these young men. It's just like they're just churning them through like a fucking on a conveyor belt. Yeah, it's just like I know another young lad. I know that he don't work. He left school, no qualifications. He's not really working. He's not really fussed. Get rid of him. It's like we're almost churning out young men on a conveyor belt. Where people don't give a shit. Let's be honest. When do you ever hear about mental health issues or in the construction world? It's like, no, they got to put up, they got to shut up, and they got to do, because if they don't, then who do you think they got to get to work? They got to fucking graft. They can't fucking moan and whinge and so when I hear mental health, where it's so important in young men, especially with the suicide rates that go on, you never hear of mental health in the construction industry. Why is that?
We are literally pushing.
Why is it not associated?
There's two major issues that I think, when you actually say them out, you probably think you can see why. But as a parent, I stand up and I say I would not let my children go in the construction industry as we speak now. It's disgusting and disgraceful the way that's been dealt with. We've got a massive shortage of staff. There's not enough people. Everyone's crying out for people. And at the same time, every single person we've got one of the worst industries of suicide at the moment. Yeah. And they're just saying, why can't we get people in? We can't understand. We can't recruit. I'm thinking, hang on a sec. You're promoting two things. We're short of men and we're also killing ourselves. As a parent, I'm thinking my son ain't coming into this industry if that's the way it's going to be. Yeah. And we have 36 people die on construction sites a year. That's dropped right down over the years since the Health and Safety Act, and that's coming. That's worked wonders in terms of actual fatalities on site. So it's obviously still 36 too many, but we've got over 700 people are killing themselves a year just in construction, and nobody gives a fuck in the nicest of ways. And it's like, hang on a sec.
They don't come hand in hand, do they?
The amount of jobs and blokes I've seen get sacked for not wearing glasses and gloves, and not once I've seen there before, and I've gone, they've took it out on someone, and I've stood up for someone, and she said, the geezer just lost his dad 3 weeks ago, and all you're having to go at him is because his gloves aren't. He's got holes in his glove. Like the guy's got a bit. There's more to him than just a ground worker sort of thing. And they would hammer these people, and then they'd be spat out again. I think Anne said, there's more to this person that we are all people. We've all got stories, all got families and loved ones away from work. Why is it like this? But we've got all these people killing themselves, and nobody's doing anything. And it's not so much, and I run my own business as well, and I know the pressures of a job and getting it done. There is no time, that downtime or pre-season kind of thing. There is none of that. So there is no time. It's just drive. But the only way I believe that can be controlled is the health and safety executive, HSE, gets involved and should turn up at least, because they're doing nothing at the moment. They need to change legislation, and law needs to come in that these companies can control it. Because at the moment what you've got is companies are all running, including myself with construction sport and what we do, we all run in our own direction trying to do something to make it work. But none of us ultimately know, because we're just construction people. We need professionals outside, and we need funding to come in what literally says this needs to be looked at serious, because it's not being dealt with serious. But these companies, even the top companies around the country, need to be given a break. They need to build into their programs time where they can have a little bit of downtime, a little bit of pre-season, something where people can actually have a breather, because no one's getting it at the moment, even if it's one day. Or I've been in before, they have these days there for safety stand downs, but a lot of companies use it as a sales spiel to go in there and sell health and safety stuff. But there's no actual. So until health and safety executive looks at it, I've actually looked at it as well. Another thing, a little call out to them. Hopefully they'll listen to this podcast, but they won't speak to me yet, because I'm just a ground worker. But one day I'll get there.
Ground worker.
I've said the health and safety executive should be held responsible, like the NFL were held responsible in terms of negligence with head injuries. So the NFL, well, there are a few now doing it as well with head injuries and things like that. People have been held accountable. Because when you look at the definition of what negligence is, it's understanding there's a problem and not doing nothing about it. HSC knows 2 people are killing themselves a day, and knew it was 2 people a day before COVID. So what is that now, all these years later?
Yep.
And the HSC still have not put any legislation in place to say you need to work to this. All they're saying to people is, you've got to look at this. There's no actual written guidance of a stern, strong message to say you need to do something.
Yeah, there needs to be more in place to
structure.
Be able to,
Structure. And we've got it now. There's
hold people and things accountable for.
Yeah. And it's not so. I started really looking into this path of what I do now probably 6 years ago of actually doing some on sites. And then since then, nothing's been done. But at the same time, I kind of think these companies are all petrified of saying how bad it is as well. I know 3 weeks ago, I've been too gory, but 3 weeks ago, a guy cut his own throat in the middle of London on a building site, one of the biggest sites in the UK. Slit his own throat and put a knife. It didn't work, so he didn't put the knife in his neck. I heard that from a very, very close contact of mine who manages something there. And then 6 weeks ago, a man jumped off a bridge and landed on a building site in front of a very good pal of mine, a project manager in Kent. And then nothing's said on there. Then a guy literally stubs his toe on site. HSE comes involved and says, no, there's a trip hazard there. Then they're fining these companies for it. I'm like, you're missing, but all these companies are petrified to announce these things in public because they think it's going to go towards damage their reputation later. But I think now is morally, we're in such a better time now for one of these big companies to go and say, we've just had this on our site and we're going to do something about it. How good that would, and literally, because
that would interject.
Yeah, because at the moment they're all hiding it and just pretending nothing's happening. But they were literally saying it's all happening away from it. These guys kill themselves away from the site at the weekend, so it's not really our problem. But I'm like, they're killing themselves on your sites now. Like it's got that bad. Like the
Do you think more can be done from the very off? So, for example, these young men that leave school, no qualifications, they've come from a troubled past. That's why probably they haven't done well at school. I'm not saying all children, but there's always an underlying sort of issue. When you come out of school, no qualification. When you come out of school, you can't find a job. There's something behind there. To be able to then jump into a job that has no background checks, that has you require no qualifications. These young men are probably coming into this job with mental health issues anyway.
100%.
So they're coming into the job with mental health issues anyway, and then with the pressure and the banter and the way that they should act, just adding to that mental health, to their mental health issues in a negative way, and therefore, 700 construction workers. It's like that's 36. Those numbers. He said they're too many.
Yeah.
So do you reckon there should be a process of, and again, this does give a great opportunity to young people who aren't academic, but surely there should be some checks before actually going on to a site where, listen, you're gonna be torn to shreds, banter wise. You're gonna have to graft every minute of every single day, without any let up. You're gonna have to physically, push yourself to the limit. Every single day without question. Surely there should be it can be done where that can be prevented from the very off.
Yeah, definitely. It can be controlled. Something to be put in. So we always put what you find as well, I suppose, again.
Is there nothing in place for this?
Not particularly. Nothing. No, companies try and do their own little thing, but it's kind of that you just go out there. You get pretty much a CSCS card. You can go and do a touchscreen test. It takes you a half hour and then you're on to any site in the UK bit pretty much. And that's it. And it's just
on site, on
a building
online.
site. You go into a room. They've got 10 computers. Like a theory test. They do the same kind of things like that. So they go in and do a touch screen, get through that, and then that card will then get you pretty much onto some of the biggest projects in the UK. The rail side's a little bit different, but even the highway stuff, you can literally walk straight onto one of these big jobs. And like I say, you could probably go and do a course for a week or two, get your digger ticket. And then drive a digger what weighs 30, 40, 50 tonne, even in excess of that. And suddenly someone actually goes, does anyone actually know this guy's a complete lunatic? He has some real issues in the most respectful way. And you're putting him in charge of that machine. And be like, oh, is he? Oh, what are we doing? Oh, sorry, he's got his tickets. It's fine. We need ticketed men.
He's got his ticket. He's there to do the job. Let him crack on.
And I believe there could be, because the CSCS card has got that. So you go on there. In the rail world, you get it. Every time you get another ticket in the rail, it goes onto your card. So every time you go, and your card's scanned pretty much day in, day out, and you're checked pretty much so you've got that. Now, even if you could just have, not mental health first aid, I don't really agree with that, and I think it's been a load of rubbish, and it's proven to be that it doesn't work.
What's this? But, go back to that, because that's quite interesting that you say that.
Mental health first aid England have got a 2-day course that they do, and it's very much it pretty much it's first aid for people with mental health. Someone with mental health first aider, basically, and you become a mental health first aider by doing a 2-day course. But
have you done it?
I did it, yeah.
Is it?
3 weeks later, I had a phone call from a bloke saying, I'm on the edge of. He rang me up and said he was on the edge of a river somewhere. I don't know what it was. And I was at home with my missus at the time, 9 o'clock at night. And I said to him, not being rude, but where'd you get my number? And he said, a guy I know works on the site you work on. He said that you could help me. I was like, huh? I said, yeah, I worked on the site of it, but I'm apparently a mental health first aid, or just means I've been made aware of this course, and these are spot the signs. These people, it's been sold and coming across to the people who don't know what it's about, really, that you're a lifesaver.
And where was he? What was he? Where was he?
It was on the edge of a river somewhere. I don't know where.
Oh.
And then
Did he fancy to swim?
God knows. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just one of those nights.
Sorry, the banter coming out.
I got my towel ready. I was about to go meet him. So I literally got on the phone to him. I was like, mate, I said, look, let me ring him. So I rang a charity, a helpline on the charity. I said, look, this guy's in a bad way. He needs to speak to someone. They said, if you can pass his number, can get us a give it a call. We can't call him. I was like, well, what good is that? I said, he doesn't want to talk to you, but I'm now stuck into it. So I come off, hung up, rung up 999 and was like, this guy's in a bad place. And selfishly, hands up, I thought to myself, he's going to top himself here. And they're going to look at his phone. I'm going to be the last one he spoke to. And they're going to be going to me, what did you say to him?
But it's not your responsibility.
No. And then suddenly I was like, no. This was 6 years ago. And I just went out there then. I was like, this isn't right.
Something needs to be done.
Yeah, and I literally said, it's more than just a 2-day course thing. And there's something right here. And I see it now, day in, day out. It's been flogged like a dead horse. It's literally sold. And then construction is a thing in construction companies.
Is it a box ticking exercise?
Massively. And there's companies making so much money out of these courses. And it's just like, but what we're seeing, I try and deal with people directly on the ground rather than the middle management. And that's the middle management, the ones getting this ticket as such. But the guys on the ground have no even awareness training or any kind of education. And they say about stigma in construction. To be honest, that's how I'm not academic, but the way I look at stigma is just pretty much that you don't understand something. So if you can educate someone around a subject, then that stigma disappears. So why can't we, if we are actually serious about people to stop killing themselves, everybody gets put through some kind of awareness training, just the little things where you can spot the signs. It could be an hour, it's not even just a briefing for 2 minutes, because that's what they do now. You go out and read a brief. I had a friend of mine worked a massive project in London for one of the biggest contractors. I was with him yesterday morning. He said, Steve, I went on there. He said it was embarrassing. One slide, touching it for 10 seconds. The guy doing the induction felt awkward talking about it, so he just moved on. Because people don't know anything about it. So it's like, if you can educate a few people just to let them know, these are what the crack is. This is because at the moment they say just go anxiety, depression. They just say like all these random things, and these are the problems. It's like, well, no, but then problems will come from something else. So why are we're literally trying to blanket things over?
Have you suffered from throughout your construction? Have you suffered from any sort of mental health issues? Talk to me about that.
Mine started really. I suppose my pathway with it. I'd never really looked at it, and I never actually. That's probably. Did you fall
into the whole construction sort of banter, lads drinking heavily, and then was that the lead up to your? Yeah,
my kind of story of it is kind of. I was involved in 2008. I had sulfuric acid thrown on me. Back where? Well, not far from us here.
What, on a site?
No, on a Friday night out. I just played at a rugby tournament, so away from work. But away from work, that happened, and in a random attack.
What happened?
I got literally been playing rugby that Friday night. Big charity do. Went to Southend down that way. Come back from there. Got dropped off at our local kebab shop, as you do. Kebab van. A big crew of us turned up the kebab van, and went there. And then everybody I was with in the minibus as such. All my mates all lived one side of town. I lived the other. So I walked home, was going to walk home on my own. I bumped into a big crowd of lads that I knew from school. They were no direct threat to me. I knew a lot of them quite closely, to be honest, as well. We'd knocked around with each other for a long time, but they were very much a different crowd at school than what I was involved in. And then, they were walking along, and one of them said, I've got sulfuric acid on me. And I looked at it and was just kind of thought, I naively, to this day, I honestly thought it must be a drug, or he sniffs it, or something like that. I had no interest, to be honest. So I had a load of beers.
It just went over your head.
I just, pardon the pun, literally. Oh, in the end. That one coming in it. So we're walking back. I've ignored it. And next thing you know, one of them had a big litre bottle of WKD. And 3 innocent guys come walking towards him and towards all of us. And we're just passing each other in a big alleyway. And then one of the boys just wrapped this WKD bottle straight across one of them's nose, and the 3 innocent guys walking towards us didn't even see it coming, and it just hit him straight on the bonds, shall we say? And then he was down, and then I knew straight away that they did nothing wrong, and I thought they've done nothing wrong. So what the hell has he done that for? So I stepped in the middle, just literally an exchange of words were happening, so we say politely, and then. Next thing you know, one of them walked towards me, and I thought, all right, here we go. So I thought, right, now I'm honestly swimming life. I always remember thinking, I've just played in a 10s rugby tournament for the last 2-3 hours. I'm beaten up already, so I'll do what I need to do, just swing, and that's 10 of them. It's going to get the better of me eventually. So I'm always thinking, I'll go down, just cover my head up and just take the kicks. And tomorrow I'll wake up just battered and bruised as I already am, to be honest. So I thought, fair enough. So as soon as I pulled my arm back and just went to go, literally, bang, I just felt this come across the side of my face, a spray. And went across my eye, went into my cornea, done a bit of clean shaving, see a little bit. It was only a few weeks after Katie Piper that happened.
Yeah, that was big. That was, big, not as in the story, but acid at that time.
It became fashionable.
People just like splashing it like for fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'd never heard of it. Or I don't think I've heard it today, or in the Katie Piper thing, I think, that would say that happened to her, and she obviously got a hell of a lot of it directly in the face as such.
Fucking
Mine kind
cowards.
of sprayed. And it went across me. I picked the guy up who was on the floor. So they'd done that, and then I think they just ran off in the end. And I leant over and picked up the guy whose face was in a bad way. And I remember grabbing the scruff of his neck and just lifted him up, and he was petrified, thinking I was about to go at him as well. I said, I'm not with you, and I'm not with them either. I said, but you come with me now, I'm in trouble. So if you want to get away from this, come with me. So I ran back to the kebab shop. If in doubt, go to the kebab shop.
If in doubt, jump over the counter.
And I did. I said, I need water, and they unloaded literally the fridge of water in this kebab shop, and were just giving it to me. And I just literally diluted my face. I didn't know. Again, did I listen at school? Is there one thing I listened to? And I remember him saying acid, put water on it maybe, but I think the heat of the face, I could tell that I needed to put water on it. And diluted it down, and then fortunately, being where I live is only down the road from Billericay Burns Unit at Broomfield, and that's one of the best burns units in the world, it's known as. So I was in their hands within an hour. It took half hour for an ambulance or a police to turn up. I think the policeman held my chin, and he had burns down his arm, so it even come up in court that they potentially look at doing them for assault on the police, even though not in the same area, but it ran down my face, down his arm. So that happened. That went through obviously all the kind of court case, all that kind of stuff that happened. And I'd done really well. So my eye was damaged in the corner, but my vision was back in a couple of days. I don't think I could see properly out the eye for a couple of days, and then it was back. And then fortunately, there's some amazing family around me that looked after me. And then everything happened really quick, and then the papers got hold of it. It was in the Sun newspaper. My brother rang me up and she said, "Steve, I know someone who works in the Sun. You're gonna have 2 or 3 weeks off work here. You might be able to cover your money." And that was it. And I went, "How much they went to give you?"
Like, why not?
And I was 16. They went to give you 500 quid. And I went, "Go on then, I'd have that." Yeah, lovely. So they gave me 500 quid. I sold it to the Sun.
So how long were you off for?
2 weeks, and then I literally, as soon as the scabs were firm, I was back on the building site.
Welcome to my Mind Over Muscle Festival, hosted by myself, Ant Middleton. You're in trouble. Now, once you go through these gates, there's no going back. Let's do this. With 250 acres to play with and to fill, come along, fill it up, and come play with Team Ant. My Mind Over Muscle Festival, hosted by myself, Ant Middleton, is open to all. Come along, face your fears, and unlock your true potential. This festival is open to all abilities. It will be action-packed, fear-defying, and a coming together of positive, like-minded people, encapsulated with the main ingredient, fun.
Yeah. So
and did that affect you psychologically?
I am very much, I need to crack on. I need to do it. I need to go. I can't sit there. I can't sit indoors.
But that's what's expected of you anyway.
Yeah, 100%. All it was, as long as I know the cement isn't going to start getting into it, the guy I work with, and I was only on a local company then as well, and they were brilliant for me actually. And he said, "You just take whatever you need off." But I knew myself, I want to get on and crack on. I need to earn some money. I need to pay the phone bill. That's what I had then. There was no worries to the phone bill. The
old Ericsson.
And got back on site as quick as I could. And then probably 4 or 5 months later, 6 months later, that all healed up really well, and I'd done quite good, fortunately, in the hands of the right people. And then I think then my missus, they started to turn around. I started waking up about 1 o'clock in the morning and just not really sleeping properly. And
after the event?
After, so 6 months later, I just kind of thought, and I just thought, I just can't sleep properly.
Can't sleep,
And I never really thought nothing
ticking,
of it.
Can't sleep,
Yeah, never was it nightmares and flashbacks and things, but I never had it would never have been, I never had flashbacks to that night or nightmares of that. I always just got done by things like WhatsApp videos and things what blokes send around. When you get this random gory video of someone breaking a leg or these fights or assaults or random stuff, non-associated.
Which you have about 10 a day. Ting, ting, ting.
Even to this day, I sit down like, no, just push it off. And it's just literally blokes WhatsApps and or just online stuff. As since then, everything goes on bloody line, doesn't it? But and things like that started just playing a bit of havoc. And I went from there to then thinking, how can I get around this? And I'd noticed that, again, with work, if I grafted my arse off, I could sleep all right. And so I literally just did. We were working around the other side of the M25 at the time, at 2 or 3 hours there, 10 hours on site, 2 or 3 hours back. We started staying in the digs down there to kind of ease up a little bit. Then we just got on the beers every night because we was down at the digs. So we just got on the beers. We worked next door to McDonald's. So we was having McDonald's for breakfast, lunch and dinner and then beers all night. And that was pretty much work for a good few weeks, a few months really. And then it was almost as in like I could sleep properly then, and that's fine. I thought hit the booze heavy, and then when I go back and play rugby on a Saturday and hit the booze heavy, I'd sleep fine again. I thought, oh, this is brilliant. I've nailed this.
You found a cure.
Yeah. And it was just a blanket, and it was kind of like I looked at it now, and people said I spoke to a few professional people, and they said you physically dealt with it, or you mentally dealt with it absolutely fine, but you physically your body couldn't keep up with that. So something had to give, and your mental health wasn't going to because you just accepted it, but your body was like, I can't keep up with this. And I started pretty much without being too gory, and people might be eating their dinner, but I started bleeding, going to the stomach and just going to the toilet and bleeding bad. And I'd be like, oh, that's not right.
It's abuse of your system, basically. Yeah.
And I started getting it started getting a little bit worse. And I spoke to my missus about it. She supported me all the way. And then went to the doctor. And now thinking back, I probably didn't tell them how bad it was because I was 21 years old. I just wanted to don't go to the doctor and tell them about my back doors hanging.
Oh, no,
Remember going with my dad. My brother-in-law said it. He said to me, sister, careful. He said, I went to see him once, he took his watch off. And I was like, yeah. And from that day, I remember.
When he actually lost his watch on with me. So beat that one.
And we want to get these checks and that done. And I'll put my hands up now. Anyone who's given problems like this, just go and get it done. You might like it.
Did you like it, Steve?
No comment. I can't comment.
Stop winking at me, Steve. Stop winking at me.
Yeah, so I went and got the check, and then I think because I was that age, I just didn't really care. And I was just like, just let me get back out and let me crack on, And I am always, everyone says, Steve, you go a million mile an hour and just see grenades behind you. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, get on. And then literally I got to a point that I realised I'd lost a bit of weight. Someone said, you've done some weight. And then I noticed that I was playing rugby and I couldn't shake off bruises or little injuries. And I was like...
Because your immune system was...
Something was going wrong,
Nutrition, huge. Yeah. Sleep, lack of sleep. Abusing your body with alcohol. And your immune system and your recoveries, it ain't going to be there. No. Full stop. No. Full stop. I know it all too well because the way that I've had to sort of really look after my body in combat, whatever it may be. And then, that's the bleeding, the bruises. Yeah. It's like it can't keep up.
Yeah. So exactly that. So it just got to a stage. I remember driving. I'd literally drive to work the van, 2 hours in the van. I thought I need to park up next to this Portaloo because as soon as I stand up and gravity kicks in, I'm in trouble here. Yeah. And it would just bleed, and it was bad. And I thought, no, this needs to get checked. And then I went home one night, and then spent a few hours in the toilet, and then literally in the morning, the boys turn up in the van. Again, the most cliche gang of construction workers turn up. The Albanian lad Jimmy in the van with 7 cans of Red Bull and 40 fags in his hand. Ray was skinhead, tattooed up right to the top. And you're pouring concrete today. And I was like, all right, cool. And then my missus just said, no, you're not going to work. She said, you're going to hospital getting checked because I'm not having this anymore. And I was like, we're pouring concrete. Like, this is a big day. I was like, when concrete comes, even the cleaners get given a shovel. It's like everybody crack on. Like and you build up to them days. I love it because literally you build up for a massive day on site, and you think, right, concrete's coming today. This is a big push now. And you do what you do with the team and that. And
I love that you just mentioned that. Yeah. Do you know what? Because not a lot of people see that from that point of view. You've put all the infrastructure in place. You've put, you've done the tricky stuff, and now it's just a concrete pour, hard day of graft, getting all that almost laying the foundations.
That's exactly that.
That's brilliant that you said that. Because
we build up for
people
months.
Just think that you just grab a trowel, grab a thing, and it's just like, oh, what are we doing today? But it's almost a build up to those moments.
Yeah, there's a big, and I suppose it is. I don't, you understand it more. I don't from a military perspective, but it's a military operation the way that would be literally lined up. We'd be like, right, lorries are turn up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the shift's going on for 36 hours, and it needs to move, and everything's and all these processes are in place. So. And when someone says, you can't go because this, I was like, no. She's like, someone will look after that concrete. You're going to the hospital. And I was like, so I went to the boys in the van.
But if you didn't have your missus, you would have gone into that van.
Yeah.
And just think how many young men or how many men
still getting in that van.
Yeah,
definitely. And I didn't. And I went in that day because I remember I didn't go out and tell the boys in the van. My missus did. And I remember looking out the window and she went out to the window. And I thought that they're a big ugly bunch of ground workers in there. They'll tell her where to go, and literally they all put. I don't know what she said, but when the women pulled rank, it was they went okay, nodded like dogs, and then they took off. And I went into hospital that morning and then spoke to the doctors, and out come the glove again, and then they literally said you're not going nowhere. We need to put some more checks into place, and they'd done some more checks, and a couple of days later they kept me in overnight for a few nights, and then they said.
They kept you in from that moment.
Yeah, from that moment. And then 10 weeks later, I come out. They turned around and said to me, ulcerative colitis I had of the stomach, so from the large intestine to your colon. So you get Crohn's is from your mouth to your, I believe. So I know from what I've learned, is your mouth, literally, as soon as you start your mouth to the end of your small intestine, you can get Crohn's. And then from your large intestine to the end of your colon, the other end, is literally ulcerative colitis. And then that is part of forms your immune system, IBD, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS stuff, and IBS or IBD, I think it's classed as. And they kind of said to us, that's what it is. And they said, however, you've got it at the start of your colon, on your colon, like the large intestine where it meets the colon, and also at the start of your large intestine. The middle section's fine. I was like, okay, what does that mean? They said, we're going to have to remove it. And I was like, just do what you need to do, just crack on. I just want to get back out and just crack on. I can't be handling this. And then they tried me on all these different drugs. It didn't work. They said, we've got to operate. And they said, you're going to be literally going to have a bag attached to you after that. You'll have a stoma. And I was like, okay, no worries. Just don't care. Just do what you got to do. I want to crack on. I want to crack on. And then the doctor come in and sat me down, was like, you need to take this seriously, sort of thing. And he showed me a few pictures. And the only thing I can always imagine is there's quite a few people out there now who have stomas and have a bag attached to them. And a lot of people, it gives a lot of people a better life in compared to what they were suffering with before. So a lot of them choose not to reverse it in the end. But I had it, and it always reminded me of the top of Evian cap bottle.
The red.
The red, the thing there. And I said, what's that? I said, just a cap I can just take on and off. He said, no, it's your large intestine. And I was like, huh? What do you mean? He said, that'll be kind of like just sits outside your stomach, and then this bag goes over the top. And then that's where you'll pass for the time whilst we open you up and do what we need to do. So, I had 34 staples down the whole of my stomach. I think it was about 9 inch long scar at the time. And I opened it up and operated, and the bag went to the side. And then
you knew it's fucking serious, right?
Yeah, I woke up in the morning, I was like, this isn't right, is it? Yeah, and then I remember I was in a ward. So I remember speaking to the surgeon there and then. There's a few stories about this surgeon. He's a great guy. And I just sat him there and I said, is this cancer? I said, because I don't know what it is. And he was like, it's not, but if we don't operate now, it'll perforate and it become blood poisoning and it can lead to this. And I was very close. I don't know how close I was from the perforate, but they literally said that we can't risk anything now. We've got to go for it. So they'd done it, but I was in a cancer ward. So I was in a ward literally with all these people who are in horrendous time, and you're seeing it face to face of what cancer does to people and all these different people around you. And it was just like, this is savage. Like, there's one guy opposite me who was choked in the morning and died of pneumonia by the night time because he had a fluid on his lung, and I was just there thinking. And then this guy next to me was the same.
And this other and now he's gone.
Yeah, and it was like day in, day out.
Do you think that could be me?
It was kind of. I don't think I really thought it was going to be me. It just literally told me like life could go like the guy choked this morning. He's gone at 9 o'clock at night, sort of thing. And there's one thing I always remember. I don't really talk about that one actually, but. That was why I remember thinking, that's how quick it can go. Well, it goes quicker than that, doesn't it? A split second it can go. But I just thought, this isn't right. And because I was in this ward.
I need to take this here. I need to.
Yeah, so I noticed what can I do?
Evaluate my life here.
Yeah, and it just gave you, and I think that with age as well, going through my 20s with it, the early 20s, and then I had that operation, the first one, and then 10 months later, the surgeon again. I was at St Mark's Hospice in Harrow because there was a specialist, Dr. Faze, his name is. It was Omar Faze. I bumped into him in the middle of Wandsworth at 6 o'clock in the morning 3 weeks ago. How mad is that? He had it 12 years ago. Yeah, on a walk that we'd done. It was bizarre. He was walking his dog. It was so mad. So he'd done the operation, and then literally 10 weeks later, he said, as soon as you're fit and healthy enough to go back on that table for me to operate, I will operate on you. He said, because a lot of people have this kind of towards the end of their life. And he said, then we don't rush it for them, but for you, I want you back out there living it. So they did it. They then They then replumbed. They used my little small intestine they call it a J pouch. They used my small intestine to build a large intestine out of it. So they kind of split, folded 6 inches back in itself, opened it up and put it together. And then that was then attached to my colon again. And I think 2 years later, they attached it back up. And then, and I was back on the pan, shall we say.
Wow.
But I said a few people still said, what's it like going back on the pan after not using your toilet for 2 years? I said, it's the closest thing as an adult to getting a bike on Christmas Day as a kid. I said, it was literally that. I said, it was literally, Yeah, and then from then, I literally just thought, and I went back onto construction sites, and I just.
So you went straight back out into construction.
Yeah, I think soon my doctor said to me, I have 12. Once the final operation was done, I opened it up again and made it longer. There was 56 staples on the second operation, I think. It was a big one, and then they got that back up and had the stone. The stone was tucked all back in and put back on a construction. Put back literally. Get fit and healthy again, got back into work. The company I was with were brilliant for me, actually. Very good mate of mine, Sam Lewis, his company. They said to me, look, you're not fit enough to be on the digging holes at the moment, but we know that you can talk the game as such, so we'll put you through. So
there is some.
Yeah, there is love. Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of very good people. Yeah,
there's with these hardened men, there's a heart of gold as well. And normally when you find you've got these old school gentlemen, all these grafters, they've got that hard exterior, but they've also got this heart of a lion. They've also got this warm heart as well. When they see you, they go, right.
Yeah.
The line has been. We know enough is enough. Right, you sit aside. Boom, boom. We'll do this for you. Ultimately.
Yeah. So as soon as people push, and then when people realise that. Not when they break you, but people will then realise you earn that respect, and then people will go, "We'll do whatever we need to do for you." So we know what you do for the company, sort of thing.
Sort of thing. They know who you are. They know what you're about. They know that you're dying to get back out on the ground. Yeah. But you're injured, or you sit this one out. We do the job for you. Sort of thing.
The industry don't like it, and I think that modern day society doesn't like it. But I think it's brilliant. I think it's the way it should be. I think you go out there, you earn your stripes, as you say, isn't it? You go out there and you show you show what you're made of, and it brings the best out of you. And you don't learn from sitting back and not being pushed, do you? So I loved it, and I still do. But as soon as I got back out, I said to the doctor, I said, I need to play rugby. And I was like, I said, I need to literally run into something. I just need to. And she said, well, just do me a favour, just go training for now. Don't play yet. And I thought, that's enough for me. I'm playing.
Exactly. One training session back into it. Straight. How are you getting on? I'm still training.
So got back in that, and then went back on the building sites, and I'd always just touch on it. I'd always say to blokes, I say, if you're bleeding red, it's not too bad. Oh no, if you're bleeding red, it's not too bad. But if it's a bit darker, you might be concerned. And people will go, what are you talking about? And then I just need to touch on it, things like that. And the amount of blokes that step forward to me and go, pull me to one side and go, Steve, I've had this or that. I've been, just go get yourself checked, mate. And they go and check, and they go, it's all fine. But it's that peace of mind, because when they haven't got that peace of mind, it just turns to worry, and then the worry kills people.
But even checking yourself out, for some people from all people in the construction industry that are abusing their bodies, with work, with hard manual labour, and also at the weekend, get yourself checked out every 6 months. Go for that routine. Even if a policy comes in from the company, that's like, they're your workers. You have a care of duty for that person. Work them. If they love, it's like racehorses. They love race them into the ground. They love that. Yeah. Same with grafters. Grafters love to graft. Like you said, you're waiting for that moment. Bang. It's like us in the military. We train really hard for that. To get on the battlefield. But have that duty of care when something goes wrong.
And look after all the plant. The plant and machinery gets all the health checks every week. They tick it all off. Every shift.
Fucking great point, mate. That's a great point.
Every shift they have to sign off that the machine's not been tampered with and it's all okay. But the person operating it doesn't matter.
That's a great point, mate. We're laughing about it, but that's a fucking great point.
Where's the last health check for the guy that's driving the machine?
That should be in place, I reckon.
100%. There's no reason why it can't be. I say they've done it for health and safety with all the PPE, glasses, gloves, on the top end of the industry, like the real big projects where you can't. But that is falling. So I worked at the bottom doing landscaping and driveways and patios and that they wouldn't have had any of that PPE at the start, and they would have already said at the start, they would have said, that's just for the big jobs, we don't care. But I drive past jobs now, the blokes have got masks on, and they are wearing gloves, and they're out their own choice, because they know it will look after them. So people are realising these things are in place. So that health and safety kind of HSC kind of side of it, with just physical health, is falling through, and people are looking after themselves a bit more. But in terms of the mental health, it's not being done, any of it. But if they do it at the very, very top and say, we're allowing X amount of time, and that's why My actual
mental health and physical well-being. Those two come hand in hand, especially in the construction industry. It's like, if we expected these guys to work, we've got to give them this benefit here of being checked over, psychologically evaluated, not to the point where you have to pick into them, but it's just like, anything going on? No. Anything affecting your work? No. But, just a caring fucking voice that they can go, they know when the shit hits the fan, or when that scale of banter is tipped. It's a case of you can always put your hands up and go, guys, let's someone to go to, or something to.
But that's again, with the one that I've noticed a lot on is, we don't go to the middle management for help. The people we go to help, and the people we trust and love, and who know more about us than anyone else in the world, is the bloke in the van with you. It's the gang. You have 3 or 4 man gangs, especially scaffold gangs with 3 of us, ground workers. We'd have 3 of us, maybe 5 of us in a van, and so we'd have a little. But that crew, I'd say anyone listening, any crews of construction workers driving, or gangs of construction workers driving in the UK, that tight knit group you've got in that van, you're with them more than your missus.
They're your people.
They're your men. Yeah, and they know when you get in that van, the tone of your voice, if something's bad. And
just your demeanour, just the way you're looking, eye contact, is like something's up.
Yeah, that's where the education and the training needs to be for these guys to know. Do you boys know how to look after each other? Because I promise you now, and I wouldn't have gone to any of these guys above me at all. I'd always that tight knit group of lads I had in the van were the best. And like I say, one of them would be from across Europe, who's driven up in very good pal, Jimmy, the Albanian guy. He grew up in whatever his life was like in Albania as a kid, and he come from whatever he'd come from. And then other lads, a military lad as well. He was Royal Welsh Guards. He went through a traumatic school, kicked out of school all the way. I think you probably understand this more, but he pretty much, with the Royal Welsh Guards, he said he got told you can go to prison or you can join the army, and he took the army route. But he'd done Bosnia and Afghanistan and Iraq, I think it was. He literally openly admitted it, riddled with PTSD. He suffered massively. It was trigger words that we couldn't use, or he said I can't listen to. And it's just not just PTSD. Doesn't just fit in with the military.
No, it's PTSD with yourself. PTSD with it's all over. Something that triggers you into that mental health sort of failure, or that mental health glitch.
Yeah. So this is another one that I'm hugely passionate about, and also my dad's always been a military man all his life and all that. So I've been very much grown up, and my granddad was, in terms of listening to what they kind of know and have learned. And then I've always gone to, and obviously I'd suffered with what was diagnosed after 3 sessions of counselling. They said you've got PTSD, and I just kind of went, I'm not in the army, I'm not military, I'm not interested. So I was like, I don't warrant it at the end of the day. So I'll just crack on. So I ignored it. And then as much as I could, and then pretty much. But now I speak to these guys on sites, and the only way I liken it to is it's very different. Again, you would know this for sure, but from what we see on site, to me is what I'd imagine. You've seen people squashed by machinery. I've seen people on the front of decorated front of cross trains. We've seen literally the limbs get cut off and stuff. Literally and we're never ever checked or asked, "Are you all right? What did you see?" And I always say,
that's PTSD right there.
Yeah, and I had one guy said to me, I said, Graham, I said, his name wasn't Graham, I'll just say this is the thing, but it's similar. I said to him, we've got days and nights next week. What do you want? He said, stay nights. He said, I can't do days. And I was like, why is that? He said, I can't do them. He said, I've not done day. I've only done nights the last 20 years. I went, why? He said, I said, just a favour. Yeah. Well, I said, he didn't know what I do with construction sport at the time. But I said, you're right. I said, genuinely out of interest. He said, yeah. He said, I witnessed a fatality 20 years ago. And he said, to that day, I can't sleep properly at night. So I can only sleep when the sun's up. You can't sleep in the dark. And that was his thing. And the smell would come over him, he said. Literally, he said, the smell comes over me and I can't sleep in the dark. And he was in his late 60s, and he's got his last 25 years of his life like that. Because that's what
that's that generation that everybody used to put up and shut up and don't say nothing.
And he's still out there now, still working, cracking on, doing the same stuff. I know he is. I see him online, but he would do that, and then other lads would be, notice stuff, witness stuff, and not all the respect, but everything goes to a fatality happens on site, and all the attention of everyone from the company goes towards this person who's died, and my way of looking at it is it comes across unrespectful, but that guy's gone. It's done. There's no we can't do nothing about that. What we can do
is system help in place for that person already. So run through that.
There's a bigger picture. The family needs support, and the people who loved ones away from there. But there's 25 blokes on this site. I've just watched that, and 25 people aren't going to be 100% clear for the next however long.
And that's what's going to keep the infrastructure going.
And those people aren't being looked after, and that's coming through. Yeah, that's coming through now, and we're seeing it day in day out. And that's why I literally went out there. They started saying figures and stats and that what being put out from a corporate world about the problems in the industry, and I was thinking they were saying 1 in 4 is affected in that, and I was like, there's 100% of us out there have had something or seen something, especially in the rail side. We'd stop a line.
100%.
Yeah, day in, day out, working the rail sector, especially now with COVID, and it's the public obviously outside of it as well. But I've closed lines before on a railway line, and then the signal's rung me up and said, Steve, could you do us a favour? Could you just step aside? I just need to bring one train through, and then I'll give it back after. Yeah, no problem. And he says, do us a favour, don't look at the train. It was involved in a fatality last night. You should never have said that, because as soon as you say don't,
it's like,
the boys are just like that. And we see things that we'll never not see again, sort of thing. Yeah. And because there was a train wash down the end, so it had to go through past us to get to the train wash. But there's nothing in place, and in terms of saying how can we get this support, or how can we recognise PTSD in construction, because all the injuries are these 36
don't go together.
It's 36 fatalities,
they do, but they don't. As in, you wouldn't never associate mental health with. It's never spoken about.
Yeah, so we're playing actually a rugby match against the fire brigade. I've put together a construction-based rugby team, and we're playing against the fire brigade, and I didn't actually mean to do it first, but the guys I know from the fire brigade said, so Steve, that would be quite fitting actually. And why is that? I said, because just remember, when it all goes Pete Tong on a building site, we come in and clear the mess up for you. So we've got a lot of stories we can tell you on the night. And I was like, this is cool actually. So we've got a big lunch laid on as well, where they're going to stand up and say, look, just give us help us push the message out there of what is seen and what happens really. So
the thing about it is, and what's so important is, you keep the country ticking over. You keep the country functioning, and behind in the depth. This is why this podcast is about the people who work in the depths of society, who live and work in the depths of society, because it's a fucking hard place to fucking work. It's a hard place to live. And what goes on behind the scenes is just not exposed. It's not spoken about, and it's never given the time of the day.
Just saying, they used to come ahead then just thinking about what we have to see, and working on Crossrail, one of the biggest projects in the country, if not Europe at the time, I suppose, the height of it. And we'd be on. I remember putting a complaint in saying, we don't feel safe working on this platform, because people in the rough ends of East London literally jacking up on the side of the platform with needles in their hands, and we're sitting there, and they didn't care. They just sat there with us, the trousers around their ankles, just sticking things in their legs, and we're trying to work here. Yeah. And then they got the dirty needles in their hands, and I put a complaint. I put an email across and said, look, is there any chance we could just have an extra bit of security on nights and that? And it pretty much come back and you just put a spanner up your jacket, put in your jacket pocket, and that was about it. It could have been anything less than that, anything more than that. And we got nothing. They said, no, the job needs to be done, Steve, you're self-employed worker. I was like, okay, no worries.
I'd much rather go to the doctor and have a finger stuck up my arse than that.
Yeah, exactly. Clean the needle.
Well, Steve, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on my podcast, and the purpose of the podcast is exactly what we've spoken about, is that exposure, letting people talk about it, and realizing that fucking hell, these young men and the majority, I'm not saying they aren't women, but 99% of men, they've got it hard. Yeah, it's there must be something in place for these young men, especially coming out of school, that needs to be monitored. They need to be looked after physically, psychologically, in order to keep the fucking country functioning, right? Yeah. 100%. So, have you involved in any charities or anything like that?
Yes, I run what's Construction Sport now. It is a charity.
It's called Construction Sport.
Yep.
And how can we get to that?
Instagram, Twitter.
What's the
LinkedIn,
website?
Constructionsport.com.
Constructionsport.com, yeah.
Yeah, Construction Sport across all socials. We're on it now.
And that helps with...
We pretty much want to make...
Mental health.
It's the mental health side of it. So we're not really at the end of it in terms of giving direct support, but we literally just want to make people know and put the message out there that we need education. And show and representing the guys really to a certain extent. There's a lot of people come back to me and say, thank me, I didn't even think like me, saying, I thought I must be representing right to a few of them then. But
no, of course.
Yeah, we're just trying to show people that we need to be done. I was put off by another charity 6 years ago because I was just a ground worker, and I thought I'd come back and haunt you one day, and we needed there. So.
Yes, we'll do exactly that, mate. Listen, you're experienced in the job. Yeah. You got the banter written all over you. Listen, I've worked on sites before, and listen, to have you on a site, it would be a great asset to any company and any project. So. Keep it going, mate.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I said I've been pushing this for 5-6 years now, and to get recognition by like yourself and a few other people and give the opportunity.
Listen, this will be massive. Pushed out far and wide, mate. So listen, hopefully people will watch it and learn from it. And
amazing.
Listen, the construction company will carry on full force, right?
Yeah, I've got to get to work tonight, actually. So.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, 24/7.
Go on then, fuck off, hurry up. Put that shovel in his hand and get him out of here. Cheers, Steve.
Thank you, Ant.
Cheers, mate.